ready.
Took a nap in my shoes. Let me be.
Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography, where old friends and fans come together to BS, argue, occasionally agree, and discuss a musical artist. This week's panel is myself, Jason, Tim,
Boo.
and Bill, who sleeps in his shoes, I guess.
That's that's out of context and uncalled for.
If you like this content, be sure to hit the thumbs up as well. It really helps the channel out. Consider subscribing to follow along with us. Help us reach our goal of 690 subscribers. We're pretty close. It's greatly appreciated. We also have a Patreon with a lot of cool perks like picking the artists we cover and seeing some behind-the-scenes cut content too racy for YouTube. So, today we are talking The Cramps. This was Tim's pick for spooky season.
That's right.
If you missed last week's, it was the Alkaline Trio, and before that it was Paramore. We like to celebrate October here at ODD. So brief history relationship with the Cramps. I first heard of them back in like 92, 3, Beavis and Butthead, Bikini Girls with Machine Guns, which was a fucking great video, but I didn't go any further than that. Then I heard them on like Punkorama. It was like Punkorama 2 or 3, and they had Haul Ass Hyena. And so I picked up a couple albums here and there over the years. So that's my history.
Yeah,
Mine's
I'll go
pretty
next.
simple. Oh, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was just gonna say my history with the band is I don't have a history. Didn't know they existed. Honestly, probably never would have known they'd existed. Um,
You
We're
watch
not for this
Wednesday?
show. Nope.
Oh.
Uh, yeah, I got to experience it though firsthand. Listening to the albums.
Cool.
That's been my experience so far.
So you're a Cramps virgin.
Oh
Now
yeah.
your cherry's been popped.
I'm glad you phrased it like that.
See, now that we've done the Ramones, the floodgates are going to open.
That is
Yep.
true.
So my history is pretty similar to Jason's. I probably heard them first, late 80s, early 90s, probably Bikini Girls with Machine Guns. Um, and then, was aware of them. At one point, when I started really discovering punk rock, Bad Music for Bad People, the compilation album, was required listening. And so I was familiar with that. And then I ended up seeing the Cramps live on one of the tours. And it was a really, really fun show. And yeah, we'll get there.
Oh man, the Cramps live is where they were at.
Yeah.
The live
That
shit
was
is where they
one of the
shine.
craziest shows I've ever been to. And yeah, it was like one of the first I went to, too. As soon as I turned 18, I started hitting up all the major areas in my region that were having cool shows. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was really into that album. So we went and saw them, and it was great. And yeah, over the years, I've been picking up albums here and there as well. So,
All right. Yeah, I've never deep dived all these records. I mean, there's a couple of them I know, but then my number one stayed the same. I'll say that. But there's good stuff. Well, we'll get into it. I guess we'll start with Songs the Lord Taught Us, 1980.
well, and of course, the band started as early as 72 and worked their way east till they finally made it to New York and the CBGB scene. And yeah, put out a few singles and stuff. But yeah, finally put out a proper album in 1980. And I mean, I think it's great. It's, listening to this discography, it makes me think of one of the general themes that we have on our channel, which is nostalgia and what it does to your musical tastes and just to society as a whole. And you know, in the 80s, it would make a lot of sense that nostalgia would attract people to the 50s and the 60s because that's how it works. It works in like 20, 25-year cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's a bunch of people who grew up in the 50s with early rock and roll, B film horror movies, um, black and white TV, like, the atomic age, all that good stuff that sparked just a whole smorgasbord of dumpster fires. And
Oh yeah, Stephen King, like all that shit is from the 50s,
yeah,
or like
yeah,
inspired by.
exactly. Yep. And yeah, much like the 90s, everybody was trying to be like the 70s. And then now we're all trying to be like the 90s. And in
Fucking new
another 10,
metal.
15 years, everybody will be like, oh man, remember 100 years ago when it was 2010?
I don't want to get off
So,
topic, but I saw a post from the Hawk Tuah girl saying that Fred Durst was a genius because he mixed metal and rap, and all the comments were like, "Oh yeah, she know that's right, Fred Durst." Blah 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 blah. I'm just like, you people have no idea what the fuck you're talking about,
yeah, I mean, he was certainly not the first or the second or the third
or
or the
even the
fourth.
best.
Right.
But
So,
whatever.
yeah.
That's what happens when
Um,
you get popular.
but in the late 70s, early 80s, you've got the punk rock explosion of, punk rock. It dominated airwaves, it dominated youth culture, uh, it dominated the news reports, and how, all these damn punk kids are just ripping up the streets and they're going to grow up to be horrible people. And so why not embrace that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like this album a lot. There's some really good stuff on here. Um, Opens with TV set, and yeah, from the word go, this is the Cramps.
Well, the opening lines of this record is, "Oh baby, I see you in my TV set. Yeah, baby, I see you in my TV set. I cut your head off and put it in my TV set. I use your eyeballs for dials on my TV set." I mean, that's like a 5 out of 5. You know what you're going to get
That's
into
pretty
with the
good.
Cramps from that right there. It's noisy, it's catchy, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good song. You got
Yeah.
Alex Chilton produce this record, which is pretty crazy. We'll be talking about
Yep.
a song called Alex Chilton here in a couple weeks with our Patreon pick.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, and that was kind of the thing back then too, like the kind of folksy artistic guys were all like producing punk rock bands.
yeah.
Brian Eno did the Devo album. Nick Mason produced a Damned album. Um, David Bowie started doing the Iggy Pop stuff. Like, I don't know, it was a thing. But yeah, it starts off and it's the Cramps. Some of my favorite songs off this one are going to be Garbage Man, I Was a Teenage Werewolf. Like, those are great songs. And then when you get to side two, like Zombie Dance is great. What's Behind the Mask is great. I'm Cramped is great. And I really like the version of Fever. This might even be my favorite version of Fever. And there's a million versions out there, but this is among the best for me. It's the total Halloween version. This is a great party record. You put on any one of these songs on a mixtape, and it sets a mood. I like it. Oh, the Mad Daddy, that's a good one too. It's a real good one.
Yeah, Lux's vocals on that are fucking crazy good.
Yeah, I mean, throughout this whole discography. But,
Garbage Man, my favorite line was, "The bird's the word, and do you know why? You gotta beat it with a stick." Teenage Werewolf's about a teenage werewolf. I mean, that's like right up my fucking alley. Mystery Plane's a top song contender. Strychnine is good for What's Ailing You. It's a cover, but
Yep.
a Cramps cover is it's
And it's a Sonic song. You can't go wrong with the Sonics.
yeah. I mean they make the shit their own. Twist and shout.
Yeah.
This ain't your mama's twist and shout. This is the Cramps twist and shout.
Right.
Um, what else? Zombie Dance, just classic fun Cramps. Behind the Mask, I love the let me have a look in here, eek part. It's just super fun fucking Cramps. Like, it's a solid debut, and I think the production works for the sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can hear the big rooms. You can barely hear the drums. There's no bass. There's just, left and right guitar. And yeah, Lux just has so much charisma as a frontman. You could see him climbing the walls of the studio through the speakers.
Like, seriously, go look up live footage of this band. It'll blow your mind.
Yep. Well, and yeah, we'll get into it too in a couple albums, but I mean, they started psychobilly, like they created a genre.
So they were the first psychobilly?
As far as I can tell, yeah.
Jesus, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, there would be no Creep Show without the Cramps.
There wouldn't be a lot of stuff without the Cramps. As I'm listening to this discography, I was hearing a bunch of stuff that we'll get into. But there'd probably be no Nirvana. There'd probably be no Queens of the Stone Age. There'd probably be no White Stripes.
They actually wrote a song for Queens, didn't they?
No, Queens of the Stone Age covered one of their songs.
They covered one? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and Lux was one of the radio announcers on Songs for the Deaf.
Yeah. That Songs for the Deaf. We're probably going to branch off all those announcers at some point. Like,
Yeah.
The Dwarves. We're doing the Cramps.
We should do Masters of Reality, Mondo Generator,
Yeah,
Eagles of Death Metal. There'd be no Eagles of Death Metal without the Cramps.
To me, this is a solid debut. So.
Yep. I'm right there with you.
What about you, Bill?
Hated
it.
So, for what there is to come, this is a solid debut. It's not musically bad. I will say this, listening to this album, I wasn't a big fan of his voice, I'm gonna be honest.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's the vocal tone. Like, I'll say it's a lot of the stuff from like the 50s and 60s musically. I'm not a fan of the vocals. Like, I like the music behind it, but I'm usually not a fan of like the vocals. And I know this is a 1980, but like that's what it's reminding me of, is like an older tone with it.
There's sometimes he gets a little too Elvis-y even for me. Like, I'm not an Elvis fan.
And yeah, I'm also not. Like, I get why, but it's like, I get you wouldn't have anything today if it weren't for Elvis. But it doesn't mean that it's good in modern day context.
Well, sure, and that doesn't mean it's for everyone in any context.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I prefer movies to the music, but
I mean, circling back to the Cramps. I mean, and I'm gonna say it this way: the song that I wouldn't skip if it were to come on again. I mean, I wouldn't skip Garbage Man. I wouldn't skip Zombie Dance. I don't think I could skip I'm Cramped fast enough for me.
Yeah, sometimes you only need 2 words to get your message across.
I mean, maybe the only other one in here that I wouldn't skip would be maybe Mystery Plane. Like, it's it was a little bit of a struggle for me to get through this album. I'll be forthright. Um, and I know it's kind of a context of what was to come.
Okay. Well, when we get to
I
the
won't
end,
say too much more. Yeah.
when we get to the end of this discography, I'm gonna have a question for you.
I mean, I'm gonna have a question too when I get to color coding, and it's a very serious question.
I'll ask my question after we do your color codes.
Okay.
All right. So we don't have to guess this one because it's the first one. Nice and simple. It's automatically number 1. If I can copy paste correctly.
Good old technology.
And yeah, there are some releases that came out before this, of course, that are worth checking out. They have some different songs. It's as you can tell from the discography, you hear one, you kind of heard them all. So if you're into it, there is earlier stuff too.
They have a lot of our notable releases are just we're missing a lot of stuff. We know we're missing a lot of stuff, but the context of the show, we're just throwing Smell a Female on there. So, but that's in the next episode. Stick around for that. Let's see if the Cramps will grow on Bill.
Or grow in Bill.
Yeah.
I mean, something's about to go on something real quick.
Oh, man. This is going to be a fun discography. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. That's why we do this. We all bring our own bands. And we force our friends to listen to it.
I mean, I brought you guys Nickelback. I get it.
There's going to be a dumpster fire or two.
There's always going to be a dumpster fire. It's very rare that all three of us agree on something. So, stick around. It's going to be good. Be safe and make good decisions.